just right what you feel, boys. It ain't magic.
you'd be so kind, would you mind introducing yourself for the podcast?
Yes, I am Enver, play guitar and sing in the band Disastroid from San Francisco. And yes, that's who I am.
And how would you describe the music of Dinosaur?
We get probably some mix of, people call it stoner, but I don't even know what that is anymore. We're probably in some kind of 90s rock, but, we probably somewhere in the Melvins, Queens of Stone Age is what people have described us as. We've got unsane, some people have called us. So somewhere in that, I guess, metal kind of stoner rock or something like that.
So kind of slow, groovy music with a lot of noise.
Yeah, but we have our fast ones for sure too. We definitely have some influences. I guess maybe hardcore something or like Drive Like Jehu. We definitely have this album's probably for the most part kind of a groove tempo, but there's a couple fast ones and definitely some of our last albums were a lot more neurotic sounding, I guess. We still keep that alive.
You mentioned stoner rock as well as the Melvins. Do you consider yourselves a throwback band?
Not really. I mean, it's hard to say. I don't know if I would call it that. I mean, we've kind of been doing the same thing for a long time. It's just progressively, I guess, gotten a little bit heavier and more refined, but I don't know if it'd be throwback. It's hard to say because I don't really know what, I guess as far as like there's a lot of bands kind of doing like the metal, like the older 70s rock metal and stuff. We're definitely not like chasing that. That's hard to say. I don't know if it's a throwback band. We're somewhere just in that weird genre that keeps kind of trudging along.
But there is a strong 90s vibe to your music and your vocals as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I grew up loving that stuff. I mean, I loved a lot of the 90s rock. I mean, I grew up listening to, the whatever Led Zeppelin and all these other bands and like a lot of skate rock too, because I grew up skateboarding. But I definitely like, vocal forward bands are cool. And I mean, I personally like huge Alice in Chains fan and Soundgarden and all that. So definitely a big influence on, I guess on me, for just whatever. I like that stuff a lot. I'm not trying to emulate it, but it's inevitable that I like that style.
Let's talk about the history of the band a little bit. When did you guys form and what brought you together?
It's about we've been together almost 10 years, if not longer. I originally moved to San Francisco from Santa Cruz, and I started playing with a bass player, and we put together a project that was a 3-piece, and then we're just playing songs that I had, and then I ended up changing bass players, and Travis, that's the current bass player, started, and we met actually through like Craiglist, which is like the music advertisement over here, whatever. And then, it's just progressed from there, and our drummer's been with us for about the same amount of time. He used to be our backup drummer way back, and then he just became our full-time. It's funny, we all met through Craiglist. It wasn't like we met in a scene or anything, but for some reason we all shared some same interest in the music that we're making, and it's been pretty, I guess everybody's, influences the sound a lot. So it's cool. It's kind of amazing. I'm always shocked. I'm like, I don't know how it's worked out so well for so long, but it's, obviously we're all into whatever we're doing.
Did you have a good idea of what kind of music you wanted to make before you guys formed?
Not so much. I think it was just kind of on the rock sound. We never had like a conversation that this is what our goal is. We kind of just, I wrote a lot of songs, and then, we would all collaborate on them, and it just kind of grew like that. And everybody, it got heavier with Travis and Braden for sure, because they brought a heavier sound to it. And it's kind of lucky in that sense that we're into it. We don't really sit there and say we're going to do this or that, but we've kind of got into a groove where we're like, we like this sound, but it's nothing that we've like expressed that doesn't fit or whatever, which has been kind of funny because, sometimes it's kind of like tricky because some of our sounds like all over the place. So we don't really sit in a genre necessarily, which, can be somewhat tricky when you're booking and such, but it's all rock and roll at the end of the day, I guess.
Yeah, let's talk about that sound a little bit, because you mentioned some of the comparisons, Melvin's Queens of the Stone Age, stuff like that. There is something of a noise rock aesthetic to you guys, and I understand you guys like feedback, like chaos, like those elements. How do you integrate these different influences and these different elements?
A lot of it's just experimenting with stuff. It's, I guess, because we're all into weird stuff. I don't know. We'll just hang out and something sounds cool, and we're just like, oh, do that more. It's pretty effortless. I mean, I think tonally we kind of just get to the spot, but we all like that, and I think we like that kind of dissonant sound, So it just kind of works, but a lot of it's pretty organic in that sense. It's just kind of what we're doing, and we tend to gravitate towards that kind of weirdness. It's just something we all enjoy for whatever reason.
Do you guys write as a band?
Yeah, I mean, we it's a mix. A lot of the material I'll bring riffs in, or maybe like a song that's half done or 3/4 done, and then we kind of just work on it. But Travis brings in his own riffs, and drummer does too. So we definitely write. Nobody's like necessarily, it's not like I don't come in and be like, this is what we're doing or whatever. And a lot of it will just be, maybe we'll just be jamming, and we're like, that's super cool. And sometimes we'll just circle that stuff for like, some of it's been going on for years, and then finally it comes out and we're like, all right, it finally works, but yeah, it's definitely a collaboration. That's probably why, I guess I'm speaking for those guys, but I think that's why it works, is because it's, in a lot of ways for everybody, because we all get to be creative. It's not it's definitely a collaboration sound, it's not just one person calling the shots. It's like, we all put stuff together and come up with ideas, and it works out cool.
Next week, you guys have a new album coming out called Mortal Fools, which will be out on Valentine's Day through Heavy Psych Sounds. Tell me a little bit about the writing and recording of this album.
This album, I'm trying to think about the writing of it. Most of it, we've been writing over the last couple of years. I'm actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at the album and see what's on, think about what songs. I mean, a lot of these have been kicking around for a while. I don't know if, I'm trying to think, a lot of it's just stuff we've been jamming and just songs, and it kind of came together. And then we ended up recording with Tim Green in Grass Valley. He's done Melvins and Cutthroats 9, a bunch of heavier bands. And that was, he really brought our sound. I think he captured more of what we sound like live. I think that's always been a trouble for us, is like getting what we sound like live as opposed to, a studio album. So that was it was a cool, we got the best of both worlds. It's got a little bit of a live element, but it's still, a recorded album.
How would you compare this album to your previous album?
Our last album is Screen. It's, I think Screen was a good I think we were heading this direction, and it's I think our last album we spent a little bit more time doing like a little pre-production and really getting like comfortable with the song arrangements, which we do in the past, but this time I think we really just mashed these songs out until we liked them, and but mostly it's just coming into our space and playing a million times and recording it and just, whatever, hating the songs and then liking them again, basically.
What do you mean by hating the songs and liking them?
I mean, you play something so many times, it's like you can't even have perspective at a point, whether you're like, if you like, a lot of stuff, well, like, for instance, some stuff comes from a jam and it's so cool in the moment, and then you kind of try to recapture that with like a structure, and it kind of goes through this whole process and then you're just overthinking it, and you're like, oh, I can't stand this. And then a lot of times it just goes through this whole growth cycle, and then finally you're, hopefully you love it when you record it, or maybe you don't, but eventually you like it, hopefully.
Sometimes when you write stuff in jams, when you luck upon a riff that you really like, it feels good to play that riff, 20, 30 times, and then you come back to it a couple weeks later. It's like, maybe we can limit it to just like 8.
And that's usually what happens. And I think even on our loud, one thing we used to do is cut sections really short, and I think on this album we're like a little bit more aware of like, well, it's cool to sit on something for a little bit longer, because we all kind of get bored with something. But yeah, I mean, that's usually progression, or whatever, how it happens. And then a lot of times for me personally, it takes a long time to listen to the album, even like know what it is, because after you recorded it and heard it so many times, it's hard to have any perspective on like, what is this really? I don't even know. I like playing it, but listening to it's weird.
So you mentioned that you worked with Tim Green on this album. People who are listening to this podcast may know Tim from his work with Nation of Ulysses and the Fucking Champs.
Yeah, great bands.
The Fucking Champs especially are really underrated. How did he get involved with this recording? Why did you guys choose to go with him?
A good friend of ours from a band called Squalus and Giant Squid, this guy Aaron.
AJ?
Yeah. He actually, he's a good friend of ours. We played with them, and he
nice. AJ's been on the blog a few times.
Oh, really? Yeah, he's great. He's a great friend of ours, and he pretty much, he turned me on to him. He was just like, you guys should record with this guy. This guy's exactly what you guys should, whatever. And then we did, and Tim's a really cool guy and phenomenal engineer too. And then you go to his place, and we stayed up there. And I think, I don't know 100%, but I think it's in he likes that kind of music. And so, it just worked. And there's a lot of bands from the Bay Area that have recorded up there too. But yeah, I think AJ definitely got us in that,
How much of Tim's prior recording history was a factor in deciding to work with him?
I think that was quite a bit. I mean, if you looked at what he did, I mean, I like all the artists that he's recorded, and he's done a lot of heavy stuff, which is cool. So that definitely, that was definitely a big part of it. Besides a reference, and a lot of people in the Bay Area, like him or whatever, like his recording style. So that was definitely a big part of it, as opposed to going somebody that you have no idea the bands that they're, have recorded or whatever. I guess, yeah, it was unlikely that he wouldn't be able to produce a heavy album. That would have been it's definitely going to make a good heavy album. So we knew that going into it. Yeah, I mean, he just got great tones. It was really, we did that album. I think we did all the bass, drums, and guitar in one weekend. Like, I think, was it 3 days or something? We did a lot, and it was really cool. I mean, we just got in there and mashed it out and just worked long hours. I think we went into it thinking we weren't going to get that much done, but yeah, we just set up and went. It was really cool. Good experience for sure.
Gotta move again. Gotta win.
So I'd like to talk about the Bay Area scene a little bit. You mentioned that you're based in Santa Cruz now. Is that right?
Yeah, I moved there, gosh, maybe 6 months ago or something like that.
How would you describe the scene right now? Because from the outside, it seems like it's really popping. It's really vibrant. It feels like every month or every couple of weeks, I get news about a new band that's coming out or a new project or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, it's funny. I feel like there was a lull there for a second. Well, if familiar with like the Bay Area, it's gotten really expensive. So a lot of people moved out. A lot of like clubs had to close and whatever got changed in different places. So there was kind of this sense that, the scene was, I don't know if it was dying or not, but yeah, lately it's wild. There's so many good shows. Like when there's a couple bookers here that just put together great metal and punk shows and really keep it rolling. And it seems like now again it's like kind of going off. So yeah, it's a cool scene. I mean, it's definitely persevered all that whatever financial turmoil of living in the Bay Area. I mean, usually I guess the way I look at it is if you ever think that it's not happening, it's just because you're not going out, basically. Because there's always shows happening, sometime of the week. You can always find some cool show, and bands still come through here a lot. So it's still cool, and it's still like a place where big bands come through, and like local bands can open for them and such. It's not kind of like some places have more of a pay to play kind of vibe, where this place has still got a pretty cool thing going like that.
So you've been in that part of California for a while, right?
Yeah, for about 20 years from here. Yeah.
How would you describe the changes to the scene? Because I think at my age I'm 40, and so when I first heard about the Bay Area, it was through all the thrash bands that came out, and then that scene kind of died by the mid '90s, and it didn't seem like there was a lot going on for a while. And now, like I mentioned, there's a lot of bands coming out there that are getting a lot of attention.
Yeah, well, I can't. I mean, I've been out here for maybe 20 years, and probably San Francisco for about 11. But it's funny, when I first moved to San Francisco, but I feel like there was kind of like indie rock stuff happening more than metal, but but part of that was probably maybe that I wasn't going out enough to the right stuff. But yeah, it's changed, I guess, since I've been here, but somehow it just keeps rolling, and you have so many areas around here and musicians. It's just kind of like, for instance, where I'm at tonight, I'm in this big rehearsal space, and there's just a bunch of bands in here. And so there's just kind of I mean, in some way, obviously it's the clubs and all that, but these rehearsal spaces are just full of bands, and there's kind of this camaraderie that's pretty cool. And it feels like it still just keeps going. I mean, I think it feels like, it's just people aren't going to let it go. So it's cool. I've been really, I guess, inspired by it lately, because you go out and you just see people and you're like, dang, we've all been doing this for forever. Nobody's going to stop either.
So you mentioned some of the changes happening in the area because of the tech industry and a lot of the new money that's coming in. Do you think it's adversely affecting the scene, or is there a benefit to it?
Well, I guess, if you ask most people in like music, in I guess in this particular like genre, it'd probably be adversely affecting it, as far as it's not. I mean, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but it's not necessarily like, I don't know if it's a lot of tech people are going to the shows, or I shouldn't really say that, but, it's just definitely a changing scene. It's changing a scene at the clubs and such. But I think more is like there's, certain clubs that have had to close, and there's kind of this growing anxiety for like some of the spots that, are they going to be able to stick around, or is it going to get bought, and turned into something else? So that's definitely been, a whatever adverse effect, but it's hard to say, I don't like to weigh too hard on, I mean, things just change, that's just how it happens. And that's why it's kind of cool now, because it's just people here are going to make it keep going, and they just change locations, and there's Tuesday night shows that are phenomenal. So it's going to happen regardless. But it's definitely been harder. We've lost some cool venues. So that's been, a bummer, and it's changed. But we're also getting older. So who knows what our perspectives are really like.
Before I let you go, tell me what you have planned. What's next for Disastroid?
Well, next is rehearsing this week. No, we're playing a show in Chico this week. Then we've got another show in San Francisco coming up next month, and we're doing the Heavy Psych Sounds Festival in March. And then I think from there we're planning on doing a Northwest tour up to probably Oregon and Washington sometime in summer, and hopefully going to do a tour in Europe later this year. That's our plans currently. And beyond that, we're just working on another album, I guess.
Tell me a little bit about the Heavy Psych Sounds Fest.
It's a 2-day event, and it's at the rickshaw stop and then bottom of the hill. I think I'm trying to think all the bands that are playing. Like I know Earthless is playing the first night, and then Brant Bjork he's playing the night we're playing. Turn Me On Dead Man, and yeah, it's cool. They did it last year at the bottom of the hill. It's like a 2-day event. It's cool. They're doing a festival here in San Francisco. And yeah, we almost actually got on last year as like a fill-in band because the band canceled. But and then as it turned out, it was pretty cool. We got signed onto the label, and so we're doing it this year. Yeah, it's cool. It's a 2-day event, and I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be a lot of fun. And it's kind of cool, that's the kind of thing, like, I felt like for a while there's not like a lot of festivals going on, and all of a sudden that's happening. So it's really cool to have that in San Francisco. And Bottom of the Hill's been like, that's been a main venue forever. It's like all these up and coming bands have played, and it's a really cool place.
The new Disastroid album is called Mortal Fools. It'll be out February 14th through Heavy Psych Sounds. Tell people how they can find it, how they can order it, and how they can hear it.
You can find it on Heavy Psych Sounds, or All That Is Heavy. I think all that has heavy.com. And then, obviously I think if you go through our website, disastroid.com, you can find it too, at least a link to it. Yeah, and I think that, we're still doing pre-orders, and they have the cool 2-colored vinyl, and then the single or the red vinyl too. So it's pretty exciting. And yeah, that's where we're at.
You mentioned your website, which I believe is disastroid.com, right?
Yeah, DISASTROID. We always get mixed up with Disastroid. That's for that.
Yeah, that's correct, because your band doesn't have the E, right?
Yeah, so we've had some funny mix-ups on actually when we played some shows out of town where we'll see that. And then there was a band called Disastroid. There still might be. That's Toroid, and we actually had a couple where they had their website linked to it. We're like, oh no. It didn't matter then, but it's pretty funny. I think I shot myself in the foot with having a funny name and a band name too. Both complicated. I've just felt like I need to repeat myself for the rest of my life, pretty much. Yeah, I think we played a show with actually it was this really great show with Mario from Fatso Jetson got us on the show at Pioneer Town with Eagles of Death Metal's Dave Ketching's birthday party. It was just a phenomenal event that we were so stoked to play. But some guy had made these epic prints, and then on the print it was spelled wrong. I was like, devastated. I was like, how cool. Our name's right by those guys, but it's not our name.
Besides the website, which you can get to if spelled correctly, how else can people follow you? You guys are on all the social media pages, right?
Yeah, Facebook and or Twitter and all that. You can find us, or Instagram. I guess Instagram is what everybody's using. Actually, my bass player, he does all that stuff right now. But yeah, it's on Instagram, Disastroid, and Facebook. I think more gets posted on Instagram currently. But either of those avenues, it's hard to keep up because it's like constantly changing. And now it's like Facebook seems like it's fading out, sort of. I mean, you still get a hold of people, but it seems like more people are on Instagram or something for band stuff.
Is there anything else you want to say?
No, really. I mean, I really appreciate being on there, and thanks to all the listeners out there, and I hope you enjoy the songs.
Thanks so much, Enver.
Internal damage near the nursing water supply. Red dust from restaurant to your sweat. Everything's skin burn. Don't forget substation. And you're turning it up too long, don't. There may be radiation sick to your family, ordinarily exposure, and even cause death.